Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brother Ali Jafri. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani wa yafqahu qawli. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining today's webinar. I'm indeed pleased that I'm presenting from my own platform from Madinah Institute. I indeed belong to Madinah Institute as well. We have designed a series of master classes, and from those master classes we have extracted this webinar for my community, because the idea is to spread the message ahead as much as we can. So thank you very much for all those who are joining us today. Blue Ocean Strategy is indeed a very latest concept. The idea was generated at INSEAD University in 2005. And we have picked it up from there. It was generated by a professor of INSEAD. His name is Professor Chan Kim, and this idea was generated in result of a PhD thesis by one of his students, whose name is Rennie Mopron. So Professor Rennie Mopron, who right now works with Professor Chin Kam at INSEAD, are the pioneers of this idea. And later on, they established a Blue Ocean Strategy Institute in the US as well. So the idea has taken deep roots ever since, and the research has progressed a lot. Although the research is fairly new, but the concepts that I'll be sharing with you and you'll be learning today from this webinar are very, very strong. So as we move on, our first question to us is, when we hear the word Blue Ocean Strategy, that does a strategy really have any color? Or can we affiliate strategy with any color? We'll come back and answer this question as we explore different slides during this webinar session. But before we go ahead really deep into the concepts of Blue Ocean Strategy, you'll be seeing on your screen 12 different variables in form of oval structures. If I ask you all to create all these 12 variables in form of a systematic 2-column, you will get something like this: managing costs, quality control, asset utilization, operational efficiency, logistics, cycle times, and similarly we have a list on our right as well. So we have created from these 12 variables a list of 2 columns, each with 6 variables. The column on the left is called productivity management, while the column on the right is called creativity management. Often, once we are presenting this presentation before the C-level executives and board of directors, we ask them how much time realistically do they invest on both the columns. And normally the response that we receive is according to the 80-20 rule. Majority of the time, that is 80% of the time, being spent by present corporate organizations or any organization is targeted towards productivity management, while the organizations devote only 20% of their time to creativity management. As a result, the creativity management in organization is really less, but the sense is that creativity is the main thing that drives productivity. So the results that we drive from creativity are 80%, and the results driven from productivity are 20%. As we go ahead, I'll share a slide with you which will reflect those figures more clearly. Blue Ocean Strategy relies on the concepts of innovation, and innovation was a term that was pioneered by Schumpeter in 1945. However, if we see the present slide on our screen, innovation is very random. Innovation is a continuous occurring word with entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur. It is said that entrepreneurs innovate. Innovation has trial and error. It is learning from failures. Innovation has opportunities and risks coming together. It has a certain DNA and culture, and it has certain units of experimentation, which is called the subsystems approach. On the contrary, Blue Ocean Strategy, as we discuss in this presentation, it is very systematic. It has patterns. It has theories and methodologies. It follows the risk minimization approach with opportunity maximization, risk minimization with opportunity maximization. It has analytical frameworks which can help us implement strategy very strongly. We'll be learning what those analytical frameworks are. It has system strategic alignment approach. Rather than self-system approach, it aligns the system within itself, which we called building execution into strategy rather than implementing strategy execution. So as we see, innovation is very random, while blue ocean strategy is very systematic. You can learn the patterns, you can develop yourself based on the theories and methodologies which I'm going to present in today's webinar. It follows a very particular risk minimization approach. It makes sure that your organizational risk is the least as least as possible. It develops itself on certain analytical frameworks and so on. But before we jump onto a blue ocean strategy, we should really ask ourselves what a red ocean is, or what is a red ocean strategy. A red ocean, when I say, represents all industries in existence today. So if we are talking about present industries that are present today, we are talking about red oceans. Industry boundaries are defined and accepted in red ocean. So there are competitive rules of the game that are already known to the market players. Companies try to outperform their rivals to grab a greater share of the existing demand, and ultimately it is the known market space that we all are aware of. So if we are considering the present day business or the present day industries, we are talking about the present competition, and the present competition is what is represented by red oceans. The roots of red ocean strategy are driven from military, the very language that we use in our daily culture, like chief executive officer, headquarters of the organization, troops on the front line. They all are imbued in military terminologies. Described this way, strategy is about confronting an opponent and fighting over a given place. And therefore, we often hear the terminology cutthroat competition, because it is believed in the business industry that in order to proceed or in order to succeed, you have to cut the throat of your competitor. And that is what turns the ocean red in which we all are operating. The strategy that all companies employ, take any sector in industry you're dealing with or you're operating in, they all are following this systematic approach of cutthroat competition. It is equivalent to accepting the key constraining factors of war. Just like in war, you have limited terrain and you have limited land available with you for which you are continuously fighting. Exactly the same way in red oceans, you believe that your market space is very limited. And within that market, you have to fight for the share of the market with your competitors. It is just like a pizza plate from which everyone is eating. So if somebody grabs a larger piece of that pizza, the other party is going to get a smaller share of it. Now, operating in a red ocean, as the market space gets crowded, prospects for profits and growth are reduced. Products become commodities, and cutthroat competition, as I said, turns the red ocean bloody. Market space is continuously getting crowded because we are continuously seeing that supply is exceeding demand. This is the rule of the nature. And we are continuously fighting. We say in economics that we have scarce resources. This is a very basic term that is taught to any economist in a business school, that whatever resources we have are scarce, and we all have to fight or do maximum utilization from those scarce resources. Whereas blue ocean strategy defines this concept. If we are talking about blue oceans, we are talking about all the industries that are not existing today. Created well beyond the existing industry boundaries, or created from within red oceans by expanding existing industry boundaries. So you are talking about something that does not exist today, that does not have a presence today. Or in other words, you are expanding your market boundaries to reach out which is not your market right now. In other words, you're not confining yourself to one plate of pizza and you're trying to search if there are other pizzas available on the table as well or not. Competition in this strategy is irrelevant because you're not playing in the same field, you're not playing in the same ocean which has already turned red or which has already turned bloody, where all other competitors are trying to cut the throat of their competition and succeed in that race. It is defined by an untapped market space, demand creation, and the opportunity for highly profitable growth. So in a sense, we are talking about something which is unknown market space in the present time. So if you're talking about unknown, which is not known to the industry at this present time, the competition automatically becomes irrelevant because you're trying to explore new oceans where no other player has yet existed or no other player has yet gone into. So why do we need a blue ocean? As I discussed, that supply is continuously exceeding demand in more industries. Competing for a share of contracting market while necessary is not sufficient to sustain your high performance, whereas all the companies right now are looking forward for a higher and higher performance. And if they keep operating in their same market space, it means one person's bigger share of pizza is going to be at the cost of another person's smaller share. So if you keep operating in your same market, where supply is continuously increasing, your competition gets tougher and tougher as you grow in the industry. Companies need to go beyond competition. They have to seize new profit and growth opportunities. They need to create blue oceans when we talk about creating new opportunities. And the only way to beat the competition is to stop trying to beat the competition, because you really cannot beat the competition in the real sense. You have to get out of that pool, you have to exit that red ocean and explore new blue oceans for yourself and for your organization to hit new targets of your growth and profit opportunities. But there are several modern-day challenges, and the dominant focus of a strategy so far over the 3 decades has been on competition-based red ocean strategies only. So much so that the curriculum in the MBA programs and in all the top business schools around the globe are focused only to promote red ocean strategy concepts. We continuously hear words like Porter's 5 forces or several other strategy tools which help you exceed or beat your competition while you are still remaining within the parameters of red ocean. So, in other words, our MBA structure around the globe is flawed. We are continuously building our youth on a base which doesn't really exist. We are continuously trying to teach them concepts about beating the competition or cutting the throat of your competitors, which in itself is very wrong, as pointed out by the Blue Ocean Strategy concepts. So the authors of this Blue Ocean Strategy, Professor Chan Kim and Rennie Mobron, they did a small research with 108 companies in it. Out of those 108 companies, they tried to see how do they behave. There were 86 business launches within red oceans and 14% blue ocean business launches. So from those 86% newly launched businesses which were operating in red oceans, the revenue impact was 62%. While the revenue impact from just a very small share of blue ocean businesses, that was 14%, was up to 38%. And if we see the profit impact from this 62% that you see on the slide was only 39%, while the 38% of the revenue impact of blue ocean launches gave a profit impact of 61%. If you ponder on this slide a little bit, you would find that although the revenue of red ocean businesses was 62%, which was much larger than a small meager percentage of 38, almost a difference of double, but the profit was lower because the costs in red ocean are massive. And once your costs are massive, it's going to pull your profit initiatives down. While the revenue in blue ocean was really less, the cost was dramatically less, which helped the blue ocean companies make a profit impact of 61%. So the costs were really, really low for all the companies that were operating in blue oceans. This is a very strategic point that I'm mentioning right now. And as we move on to the last part of this webinar, I'll show you how blue oceans operate by minimizing their costs. We'll come to that concept a bit later. Blue ocean strategy primarily rests on a very strong concept which is called value innovation. And value innovation forms the cornerstone of the blue ocean. Instead of focusing on beating the competition, value innovation focuses on making the competition totally irrelevant. And how it does so? It does so by creating a leap in value for buyers and your company by opening up new and uncontested market space. But what is the real important aspect behind it? Value innovation defies one of the most commonly accepted dogmas of competition, that is value cost trade-off. All the present day businesses talk about value cost trade-off. For them, if you need to increase the value, costs would automatically go up. Whereas once we talk about value innovation, we talk about increasing the value at the same time decreasing the cost. So you're aligning innovation with utility, price, and cost positions. If they fail to anchor innovation with value in this way, only technology innovators and market pioneers would lay their eggs for other companies to hatch. So what exactly I'm saying is depicted in this picture. You have to reduce your costs down at the same time increasing the value of the buyer. Often when I say this in front of the CEOs or other executives around the company, they think of me as if I'm some mad person talking about this strategy, whereas this is a reality. You can really give away this cost and value trade-off. You can really reduce your costs while at the same time increasing the value, and this is the concept that I'm going to explain in this webinar before you right now. So what really happens, if I can get a pointer over here, just give me a minute. So if you see, what really happens is, in a red ocean, your price is over here, P1, whereas your demand, current demand is D1 that is operating in the industry. With this price, you're charging a quantity Q1 to your players. Now, the consumer surplus that you give to your consumers is AXB. This is the region defined by consumer surplus. And the profit that you earn from this is ABCD. This is the region which is your profit region in a present scenario or in a red ocean scenario. With a blue ocean strategy, you shift your demand forward. How you shift your demand forward? It is because you are increasing your value. You are incrementally giving a higher value at what? At a lower cost. So your price is down and your cost curves really go down. When your cost curves go down and your price is also down, the consumer surplus that you're giving to your consumers is Y, E, and F. So here you see, this is the complete region which I'm highlighting for you. If you compare this with A, X, and B, you see that how greater value you are giving and passing out on to your consumers. Your new consumer surplus is Y, E, and F. And your new profit surplus with your lower costs, because your costs are also going low, so your long range average cost curve goes low, and your new profit function is E, F, G, and H. So you are earning higher profits and you're giving greater consumer surplus to your consumers, which is a normal strategy. I mean, which would you prefer for yourself? It's now up to you to find out which works better, because this way you're giving a higher value, which is Y, E, and F to your consumers, and you're at the same time earning a much greater profit while reducing your price. So your price has gone down and your consumer surplus, which we discussed in this picture, your costs and your prices have gone down, while the buyer value that you were giving to your consumers have gone up. The buyer value is Y, E, and F, and your profits are E, F, G, and H. This is how we explain it in purely economic terms. I'm going to explain this complete graph in management terms as well, but before we jump on to the management descriptions, it is really important to understand the core concepts from which the strategy is being driven. At the same time, if we quickly touch upon the red competitors right now, who are monopolist practice owners, what they do is that in order to increase their revenues, what they do, they increase their prices from P1 to P2. If you take the example of any niche brand company or any brand company, they are continuously increasing their prices. And they think that with the increase of their prices, they will be earning major revenues or more revenues for themselves. But what really happens is that once they increase their price from P1 to P2, the quantity from Q1 shrinks down to Q2. Now lesser and lesser people can buy their brands. All right, they do spend more money to buy that particular shirt or any other brand product, but their quantity of demand has gone down dramatically from Q1 to Q2. As a result, what really happens is that consumer surplus at price P1, which was C, R, and D, only reduces to C. And the profit that you earn is R, whereas D forms the dead weight. So this is exactly what I said when I talked about the pizza plate example, that if you're trying to play in the same market, getting a bigger share of the pizza would be at the cost of someone. And this is D is the dead weight loss, which means it is at the cost of consumers, which shrink from Q1 to Q2. So somebody is going to get lesser share while you enjoy the greater share in the market if you are operating in a red ocean. So right now we have discussed two concepts, two very important concepts. One is red oceans and the other is blue ocean. Red ocean is competing in existing market space, while blue ocean is about competition or about creating your uncontested market space so that competition gets irrelevant. Red ocean talks about beating the competition, while in blue ocean, since you are operating in an uncontested market, there is no concept of competition at all. Competition is almost irrelevant for you. You are exploiting existing demand in the red oceans, whereas I'm talking about blue oceans where you're creating and capturing new demand for yourself. You're talking about value cost trade-off continuously in red ocean strategy. You say that you want to increase the value over here as you did. You want to increase the value by increasing the price and you're making your products niche, whereas blue ocean strategy, it says that you can create, like over here in this graph I showed you, you're increasing your demand by increasing the consumer surplus over here. At the same time, you're reducing your price as well. But how we really do that, I'm going to show that how companies are doing it. And then finally, you are aligning the whole system of firm's activity with its strategic choice of differentiation or low cost. In red oceans, it is a choice. You have to either choose differentiation or low cost. You cannot get the two at the same time. While in blue oceans, they say that they go hand in hand. You have to differentiate, and at the same time, you have to reduce the costs for your consumers in order to increase the consumer surplus. So as I said, blue ocean is about opportunity maximizing while minimizing your risks. But how do really companies can systematically maximize the opportunities while at the same time minimizing the risks of formulating and executing blue ocean strategy? In any strategy, risk factor is always there, but we can reduce it, we can minimize it, and this is exactly on which blue ocean strategy is developed. Blue ocean strategy primarily follows a very systematic process, and it is developed on a 6 principles framework of blue ocean strategy. What this framework is? reconstructing market boundaries. By reconstructing your market boundaries, because we talked about you're not operating in existing boundary, you're not operating in your existing market, you're trying to search for blue oceans, you're trying to search for new markets. You're reducing your search risk, number one. You focus on the big picture and not the numbers. I'm going to show you how you do that. In normal red ocean terminologies, you're continuously dealing with balance sheets. You're continuously dealing with income statements. While stats may not always be right and they can mislead you. For example, there is an example of HP. 10 decades back, HP showed that it was progressing very well. However, the reality was that industry as a whole, HP was operating in an IT industry, and IT industry as a whole was progressing, and therefore HP was also progressing. So if you only depend on numbers, they can often mislead you. While in Blue Ocean, we talk about focusing on a picture, focusing on the big picture and not the numbers. By doing so, you're reducing your planning risk. Then we talk about reaching beyond your existing demand. Once you reach beyond your existing demand, you are reducing your scale risk. You are reaching a demand that was not there before. If you see this graph over here, you have reached beyond your existing demand. Your existing demand was D1, while by reducing your price, you are able to sell quantities Q2. And doing so, you have not reduced the consumer surplus, rather you have increased it. So you talk about reaching beyond your existing demand, and this reduces your scale risk. And finally, we talk about getting the strategic sequence right. And through this, you can reduce your business model risk. And then the two other principles are from strategy execution, which is overcoming key organizational hurdles, which reduces the organizational risk, and finally building execution into strategy, which I said earlier on, which reduces your management risk. Now, of course, I cannot touch upon all these 6 principles while doing this webinar, which is time constrained and it's only 40 minutes while I'm speaking with you. These 6 principles are comprehensively covered in the masterclass that we deliver for executives and organizations, and can be learned further on from there. The most important concept in this framework is about this focusing on the big picture. We have already talked about reconstructing market boundaries. There are several tools that we can apply, and that I'll be showing with examples how different organizations have reconstructed their market boundaries. But first learn how to create this big picture, or what this big picture is about. This big picture in Blue Ocean strategy is called strategy canvas. It is both a diagnostic and an action framework for building a compelling Blue Ocean strategy. Blue Ocean strategy has its roots in value innovation, as I already told you. But in order to build a Blue Ocean strategy, it roots itself on a strategy canvas. This captures the current state of play in the known market space and allows you to understand where the competition is currently investing, the factors the industry is currently competing on in products and services, and what customers receive from the existing competitive offering on the market. If I show you, this is a strategy canvas of US wine industry in the late 1990s. I've chosen this example particularly because, if you're familiar, wine industry is the most complicated industry with several products on the road or on the shelf. So it's really difficult for the organizations or for all the competitors operating within the wine industry to really differentiate themselves. If we talk about and broadly define 2 types of wine, they will be categorized as premium wines and budget wines. Budget wines are for those who cannot afford very high quality wines, while premium wines are those who can really go for very expensive wines. If you see the horizontal line below, which we call the x-axis, you will see that I have identified several factors around which this strategy canvas has been laid out. One is price, the other is the use of analogical terminology and distinctions in wine communication. Then we have above the line marketing, I mean, the companies are spending huge dollars to market their products. Wine is defined by its aging quality. And then the most important factor that wines are referred to as prestigious are their vineyard legacies. Wine complexity. People try to make the product as complex as they can so that it tries to cater a very niche market. Often this happens with several branded products that will try to make their products complicated, which appeals a niche industry. And finally, the wine range. You have to create a wide ranges of wine in order to tap the market. These were the general assumptions of the wine industry in late 1990s. Until now, all the companies who are operating in red oceans are almost practicing a similar strategy for themselves. So if you see, all the points over here are fairly high. They're trying to use, even the budget wines are trying to use very high level of analogical terminologies. And what this happens is, as a result, it confuses the customers. Customers find it really difficult to choose which wine they would like to go for. Often, the persons who are standing next to the counters or the sales agent cannot help the customers as well, because they themselves are not sure which taste is going to appeal the customer the most. So what really happened, in order to create blue oceans, there was a company that turned up with their product, and what they did, they tried to shift the strategy canvas. They tried to pursue both value and costs. As I said, that there should not be a trade between value and costs. Whereas in all blue oceans, they are trading value and costs. If you see over here, budget wines are cheaper, they are low price, but at the same time, their value is also lower. They are not offering the same value as the premium wines. While in blue oceans, we are talking about pursuing value and cost at the same time. You should resist the old logic of benchmarking competitors. So you are trying to get away from the competition. You're not benchmarking yourself within the same competition or within the same existing field. You redraw your strategic focus from competitors to alternatives, and from customers to non-customers of the industry. If you want to increase your demand, what is the one way to increase it? If you're continuously targeting the same customer set, you will never be able to increase your demand. You have to search for those customers who are not really your customers at this stage. That's the only way you're going to increase your demand. So you're talking about from customers to non-customers, and from competitors to alternatives. In order to do so, or in order to rebuild your strategy canvas, you have to focus on 4 key questions. What those are: which of the factors industry takes for granted should be eliminated? Which factors should be reduced well below the industry standards? Why we are talking about elimination and reduction? Because we are talking about at the same time of reducing the costs. The costs can be reduced once you eliminate something and once you reduce something. While at the same time, you're raising which factors should be raised well above the industry standards. You're raising the quality, and at the same time, you're creating new factors because you're targeting an industry, as I said, which is your non-customers right now. So for non-customers, you have to create new value offerings as well. So this is the 4 actions framework through which you can formulate your blue ocean strategy. And this is exactly what Yellowtail Wine did. If you see over here, Yellowtail Wine came up with a bang. They reduced several of the factors. They brought down the wine prestige legacy. They brought down the aging quality, the above-line marketing budgets, the use of analogical terminologies, while at the same time, they increased ease of drinking, ease of selection, fun and adventure. They came up with only 2 brands, that was red wine and white wine. The ingredients were really simple and their taste was really funny. So what they really did over here was they tried to bring in the customers which were non-existing before. So they pushed down the customers from premium wines and from budget wines as well. They were priced a little bit between the premium and budget wines. So all the budget wine customers went up to Yellowtail. They increased their budget to drink Yellowtail because Yellowtail was offering them massive value, while the premium wine customers wanted to stick back, they wanted to go back, and they captured both these markets and also markets beyond them. Another example can be of Pepsi Cola. I was with one of my colleagues in PepsiCo, and I was amazed when he shared his blue ocean strategy with him. PepsiCo is in continuous competition with Coca-Cola Industries. And what really happens is that Coca-Cola Industries right now in the Asian market is leading the region by massive numbers. But at the same time, PepsiCo came up with a very innovative idea, and they introduced their food products. If you know Walker's, Lay's, oats, white oat, brown oat, they have several food products available with them as well. Now what they did was they started attracting children with their chips products. While we believe that beverage industry cannot target the children, especially effervescent drinks, cannot really target the children, PepsiCo targeted the children and wanted to bring that non-market or non-consumers within the market for themselves. So now they are getting massive revenues from that line of the food product for them. At the same time, they introduced energy drinks in the market. And the energy drinks, the sale of the energy drinks really climbed all records for them. And that was how PepsiCo built up advantage or blue oceans for themselves over Coca-Cola, which Coca-Cola has so far not been able to compete with. Coca-Cola has no food product in the line right now, and it's really lingering on seeing how Pepsi has developed its blue oceans from there forward. So when we are talking about strategy, there are three characteristics that define a good strategy. Number one is focus. Number two is value curve diverges from other players. And number three is a strong tagline. If you see over here, the yellow line strategy canvas is diverging from the industry strategy canvas. While at the same time, the yellowtail has a very strong focus on eliminating the complexity and introducing ease of drinking, ease of selection, fun and adventure. And finally, I will present another case of Southwest Airlines before we conclude this webinar. If you see Southwest Airline, what they did was they tried to see what the average airline industry offered. And if you see, this is the average airline industry graph. And then they compared themselves with the car transport, which was their an alternate industry, because they were trying to see towards alternate industries while positioning themselves or while establishing themselves. And they offered their services somewhere between the average airline industry and the car transport industry. And they came up with friendly service, speed, and frequent point-to-point departures. If you see, they have increased their friendly service, they have increased their speed, and at the same time, they have increased their frequent point-to-point departures, which was not being offered earlier with average airline industry. They had focus, they had divergence built in their strategy canvas, and finally, they came up with a very strong tagline, which was speed of a plane at the price of a car wherever you need it. And they introduced themselves to a completely new blue ocean. They were a budget airline. They were offering great services, they were reducing the time, their speed was very high, and they were offering point-to-point departures, which was not being addressed earlier by average airlines. And they came up with a very strong tagline that defined the complete strategy, that is the speed of a plane at the price of a car wherever you need it. If you see how we develop a strategy canvas, we can do it by following the following 6 parts framework, which is looking across the alternate industries, exactly what Southwest Airline did. They compared themselves with the car transport while they were an airline industry. They did not compare themselves with other airlines. They compared themselves with the alternate industry. They looked across strategic groups within industries. look across chain of buyers. There can be 3 layers of your buyers. It is not necessary that your buyer is your end consumer as well. It can be that somebody else is purchasing your equipment and the real consumers are different. This often happens in when we are talking about pharmaceutical industry. It's a very relevant example over there. Excuse me, please. Then you look across complementary products and services, you look across functional or emotional appeal to buyers, and you look across time in formulating your strategy canvas that we have developed over here. Of course, I do not have time to go through in detail with all these things, but from head-to-head competition to blue ocean strategy, you are looking across alternate industries, looking across strategic groups, redefining your industry buyer group, looking across complementary products and services, rethinking functional and emotional appeal, and participating in shaping events over time. You focus on the big picture, not just the numbers, and the big picture is your strategy canvas. If you focus on a strategy canvas, it would give you a real feeling for what the industry is following and where you are actually standing. And it would help you define your strategy in a much better way. I will share these slides with you in which you can go through drawing a strategy canvas. There are steps over there. And what are the benefits of defining a strategy canvas? You initially, if you see over here, today's pioneers are very less. But if you follow a blue ocean strategy, your pioneers would increase. You have to increase the pioneer numbers because you have to explore new oceans. If you explore new oceans, you have to be a pioneer in that industry. Migrators is a line between settlers and pioneers. So most industries tomorrow would be migrators. But if you really want to explore blue oceans, you have to stand over here on top of the graph, which is pioneers. Migrators are like countries like Malaysia and Indonesia. They are trying to adopt foreign technology that was developed in the US, and now they are migrators. They are adopting new technology from the pioneers, and they are trying to migrate and become pioneers themselves later on. But if you take the example of China, it's a fast catching up economy. To become a fast catching up economy, you have to continuously pioneer your own products. You take the example of Taiwan and Korea. Taiwan and Korea were able to catch up with the Western world by becoming pioneers in technology, and therefore they stand here today. You have to reach beyond your existing demand. You have to continuously challenge conventional practice. Your existing demand, reaching beyond existing demand means reaching beyond your reaching to your non-customers. There are 3 tiers of customers as defined in this graph. First tier is your soon-to-be customers. Second tier is those who have refused your product already. And third tier is those who have not explored your product at all. So you have to explore this complete market in order to reach to your non-customers. Ask yourself the question, who your non-customers are, where your non-customers can be positioned within this graph in order to define yourself a good, dynamic blue ocean strategy. With this, I conclude this presentation, and I am open for the question and answers. Thank you very much. Brother Ali Jafri, over to you.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Zawwar, for a very interesting and intriguing presentation, I must admit. Folks, we are now open for question and answers. If you have any questions, you could either put it in the question box. I'll be happy to read them over on your behalf, or if you could either raise your hand. There's a hand icon available on your console. So if you could click on it, I can give you an opportunity to speak. I see there's already a hand that's been raised, so let me go straight to the caller. We have Brother Mahmoud Sharaf. Brother, could you hear us? Could you please introduce yourself and ask the question?
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Could you please, brother, introduce yourself and ask the question?
Yes, this is Mahmoud Sharaf from Sulaiman Al Habib Hospital in Qasim. My question is that in the healthcare sector, the healthcare industry is really dynamic. It has most of the parameters that you went through your presentation. Now the question is, in order to maintain, the blue ocean is it to focus on the you know, the innovation and coming through that era, or we just focus in the triangle of providing the best care with the least cost, with high you know, high quality in a short time? What do you think we should focus at? Thank you.
Brother Mahmoud, thank you very much for your question, a very relevant question. And your industry where you operate in the healthcare industry, it's a very regulated market as well. So directly coming to your question, my answer is that you have to focus on value at the same time as innovation. If you only focus on innovation, it is going to be only a horizontal increment to your organization. You will only innovate yourself and your costs would continuously increase. They are not going to give you the required value. At the same time, you have to really increase your value to the consumers as well. If I have to quote one example, we recently gave a presentation to some pharmacists over here, and we defined a blue ocean strategy for a pharmaceutical company, which is closely related to a health sector. And we gave them an idea to reach beyond their current consumers, or to reach beyond their current demand, as I have presented in this presentation as well. And how a pharmaceutical can do so, we gave them the idea of producing medicines for those who are already healthy and who really do not need medicines. If they're able to capture that market, they'll be bringing someone in who is not their present consumer. So they can build up some tablets like protein tablets or something like that, for maybe for pregnant mothers who can avail those tablets, who can consume those tablets, and it would give them incremental value, while at the same time it would be a completely new market for the pharmaceutical industry in which they would be operating in. The present scenario is that all these supplementary products, or all these protein products are coming from Western markets, and the costs of them are really high. If a local pharmaceutical company builds those products, it would be really good, and they would be exploring new markets, and they really like it. A similar idea can be adopted within your healthcare institution. You can introduce a service like a telephonic service, which many of the hospitals over here are doing. They're offering, you are taking the doctors, rather than patients coming to the doctor, you're taking the doctors right to the doors of the patient by introducing a telephonic service. So there can be several those kind of initiatives that you can think on, and you will be developing for yourselves blue ocean. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Sharaf, for your question. Now let me go to the question box. We have one from Brother Dr. Zahid Ali Memon. The question is, to me, blue ocean strategy seems quite closer to niche, but it is different too. In what concrete terms it is different from niche?
Brother, in niche, you are continuously going to a smaller segment of the same market, whereas in blue ocean strategy, you are exploring a market which has never been explored before. It's a completely different market. As I showed from my graphs earlier, in niche, you're continuously following a pricing strategy whereby you're continuously increasing your price. In a blue ocean strategy, most of the times, from a niche product, your price would be much, much, much lower, whereas the value that you'll be giving to the consumer would be much, much higher. So these are the primary differences. It's number one, niche is something which is already operating within the red ocean. So you are continuously trying to differentiate your product to target a very niche segment of your market. But if you're differentiating your product, at the same time you're increasing your cost, that is not a blue ocean. You have to differentiate and at the same time lower your costs. And if you do so, your market would exponentially increase. In a niche, your market is very small. In a blue ocean, your market is massive. Your market is huge. If we talk about Middle East, the example can be Al-Baik. Al-Baik has produced a blue ocean. If you see KFC next to Al-Baik, there won't be much customers in KFC, maybe a dozen of customers standing in KFC as compared to maybe 200 customers standing in line at Al-Baik. Al-Baik has created a niche through its taste. They have developed a unique taste and they have created a completely new market. See the price of KFC and see the price of Al-Baik. Al-Baik has they have positioned their products at a much lower cost, which makes affordable to everyone down in Saudi Arabia to use their products. I hope this answers the question, Brother Ali.
Yeah. Could you just explain, Dr. Swat, a little bit about lowering the cost? Is it actually coming down towards the minimum of the budget, or you can just be on the upper side and between premium?
It is between premium and budget. So if you see over here, as I talked about the US wine industry and we talked about the yellow wine case, I'm taking my slides there. I do not know if the slides that I'm showing are also being reflected in the screen. Because in the, yeah, now
yes,
it is here.
Yes, they are.
It's going down. Yeah. If you see over here, the yellow tail wine is positioned between the premium and the budget. So the price is much lower than the premium wines, but it is a little above the budget wines. So they have, but the value that they are giving is much more than what budget wines were offering. So it's not necessarily that you are down bottom while you're pricing your product, but you're much lower than the niche products already existing in the market.
Well, thank you very much for the clarification. Another question, one quick one. Can blue ocean strategies be implemented in every field?
100%. Blue ocean strategy can be implemented across the sector in any field. And there is a very typical framework. That's why I say that blue ocean strategy is systematic. It's just like PMBOK. If you're aware of project management principles, you can apply project management tools and principles even to your daily routine life. Similarly, you can apply the blue ocean strategy framework to any industry, any field, and any business.
Okay, and then there's another one. How sustainable is blue ocean strategy? Doesn't this ocean turn red after some time?
It's an excellent question, Brother Ali Jafri. Sustainability is, at one time, imitators would definitely follow you. When you have explored a new ocean, people who are seeing that you have explored a new ocean would definitely come in. But by the time they come in, you would have already reaped a lot of profits and you would already have the first mover advantage. But ultimately, that blue ocean is also going to turn red. No ocean would remain blue forever. So there is no concept of perpetuity in business. Things won't continue forever. You would have to continuously seek new oceans as you go, sustenance, that you reap back all your profits and you develop a pioneer position in the market. You would always be termed as a pioneer in that market, no matter how bloody the ocean turns into.
Okay, thank you. Let me go, taking a liberty, try to unmute Mr. Noju Al-Saheli. Have shared some interesting comments. Brother Noju Al-Saheli, could you hear us?
Yes, hi.
Yes, hi, Sister Noju. Could you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm taking the liberty to unmute you because you have raised an interesting comment.
Yes, because I just said from the questions, I just would like to clarify, because this is what I got from Mr. that the blue ocean is just like Apple. When they created iPad, they compared themselves with laptops and they saw the need of people that they just need an information instead of just inputting information. So they created iPad. Till now, no one can compete with them.
Exactly.
And they have the same price.
You have very, very rightly pointed out. Apple is one of the very beautiful examples of blue ocean. Even if you know that Apple is now quickly entering into our mobile industry, previously we only knew Nokia, but where does Nokia stand right now? They have so beautifully combined technology with telecom and with all other different features, and they have explored for themselves a blue ocean. Although imitators are coming up, imitation would happen, new market players would enter, but they enjoy a pioneer position right now. And they are continuously exploring new ideas for themselves, which is keeping them on the top.
So do you mean like in the blue ocean, I have to dig into the customers and know the real needs of them, and then I create them through a product, a new product they did not expect before?
Exactly. If you know, I have a small kid, 5 years old, and he plays on an iPad. Would you have ever imagined a 5-year kid playing on your mobile some 5 years back? I imagine not so. So they have brought in an audience which nobody else would have ever thought, that a 5-year-old kid can also use Apple. And the kids are doing so right now. So they have tried and introduced a completely new market for themselves. It's equally good for old age people, and it's equally good for a very young child who is there. So they have a vast variety of customers for themselves, and they're taking benefit of that.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
sister.
very much.
Thank you very much, sister. Question. Let me go to another caller who is raised. Regular callers. We have Dr. Muhammad Rashad Farid. Dr. Muhammad Rashad, could you please introduce once again yourself and ask the question? Dr. Rashad, I believe you have muted yourself. Okay, now you're unmuted yourself.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Imran, for such a wonderful presentation. I was thinking that it's sometime instead of going to the extremes of whether it's a red ocean strategy or the blue ocean strategy, a combination maybe also can be a good model for example, the Walmart, the giants in retail. So if you see that the strategy was initially the focusing more on cutthroat competition, and they kill a lot of retailers small, and they've been the giants, and perhaps that was because of the low cost strategy. They got it through the efficiency in the supply chain, but they were also adapting to the this blue ocean strategy, where they thought of going to the e-retailing and focusing on that. So perhaps it's just not the extreme, but a combination of both can be also a winning model. What's your comment on that?
Thank you very much, Doctor. Still, research is silent on this because not much research has been done. But from Islamic perspectives, if I come back to this, I would suggest that a red ocean where you talk about cutting the throat would be against the Islamic principles as well. Whereas the Islamic entrepreneurship principles talk about cooperation. They talk about ta'awun, as we say. If you cooperate with others, you're going to create a new market for yourself. And we have seen that mostly the Western companies are adopting this cooperation strategy a lot. We have seen a lot of mergers and acquisitions going on. And with mergers and acquisitions, the companies have increased their demand tenfolds maybe. So cooperation can be a strategy that can go side by side with Blue Ocean, and it can act as a catalyst to Blue Ocean. I would suggest that, and perhaps Walmart type companies are going through a change process. Because research is silent, so I do not have any figures to say or any stats to share with you on exactly directly related to your question. But in my personal opinion, I would suggest that cooperation would be better than following a red ocean. Cooperation and blue ocean strategy together can create a massive value.
Yeah, sure. I truly understand that. So cooperation, collaboration is a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Ali.
Thank you.
Your question was very interesting. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad. And that really brings us towards the end of the webinar. I know we have some other comments which will be shared with the speaker post this webinar. But thank you all of those who participated. And once again, Dr. Imran, before we conclude, any concluding remarks you have before we dismiss out?
Are you asking from me, Brother Ali?
Yeah, if you have any concluding remarks that you would like to give before we dismiss out.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be present here from my own institute's platform, and we truly hope that we'll bring in many such sessions. So we have now instituted a complete research arm at Mile as well, and we are working in collaboration with top universities across the globe in bringing leading edge research that is relevant to the region. And at the same time, we are trying to make research results available to the crowd as much as we can so that it can be better implemented in the regions which really need good development. So we'll continue to work for the development of the Muslim Ummah, and we'll continue to provide you as much facilities as we can. And we truly look forward to engaging you on several other avenues as well, inshallah. Thank you very much, Brother Ali Jafar.
Thank you very much once again, Dr. Zawwar, and thank you all of those who participated in this webinar and for posing interesting questions. We are recording this webinar, which will be uploaded on Mile Community. Please stay tuned to webinar.mile.org as well as community.mile.org. With that note, I would like to end